Okay, Jeff, the first video that we're gonna do, we're predicting trends. Upcoming trends.
In board games?
Yeah. With literally no information.
Okay.
Okay?
Mm-hmm.
Got it?
Yep.
Perfect. Hello everyone, welcome back to Foster the Meeple, a channel all about
Board games.
And
board gaming things.
Exactly. We are here to do something crazy. We're going to be predicting the next big things that are going to be happening in board games. I wrote a few things down. I literally just told Jeff what we were doing, so he's come unprepared, but that's my fault. But you probably have some stuff in your brain.
I have a couple.
Yeah, we've got a couple. So, you know, trends happen. Right now, a big trend, trick-taking. That's a huge thing right now, isn't it, Jeff?
Is it, or is that just something we're honed in on?
Do we do our intro?
No. Yes, we did.
Did you say board gamey things?
Yeah, we did.
Okay.
Yeah, we did.
Okay, we did. Anyways, yes, there's a few like trends that are currently happening. These are going to be upcoming trends. But like something that's current is trick-taking games. That's a big thing
But that's
right now.
what I'm saying. Is it, or are we just honed in on it?
No, I think it's a big thing. I think trick-taking, it's so hot right now like Hansel. So hot.
It's hot.
Hot right now like Hansel. So...
How many do you have?
Oh, I have just like a list. Not a big deal. All right, what's one thing that you think is going to be an upcoming trend in board gaming?
I think you're going to see more and more of the Lord of the Rings IP being plastered on everything like Marvel was.
That's interesting. I do have one of mine is a surge of IPs.
Okay, so I actually have a counterpoint.
Okay.
I think IPs are outside of the publishers that tend to do IP stuff heavily.
Yeah.
Like Steamforge, for example.
Sure.
I think you're going to see a decrease in IPs overall.
You think?
Outside of the publishers that focus on IP. But before that, while that's happening, I think you're going to see a boost in Lord of the Rings IP because it was sold to a different conglomerate. Mm-hmm. And so people are getting access to the IP that they didn't have for a very long time.
Right.
But I think outside of that, IPs in general are going to start to peel off.
You think?
Mm-hmm.
Interesting. Because I think that more video game IPs are going to start popping up, but less movie IPs.
Yeah, okay, fair enough. I would agree there. I was honing in on movie IPs. Mm. Because I think a lot of people are just
sick of it.
Sick of
I think we saw the rise of Marvel in board games,
what I mean,
and I think that has to peter out at some point.
Yeah, the Marvel what's that freaking game?
Champions?
No.
Legendary?
No.
Crisis Control?
Stop, you're not helping. There was this Marvel game that I was like, why does this have to have a No. Oh. Stop! Why does it have to there's no reason for this to have Marvel on it. I can't remember. It doesn't matter. Mm-hmm. But there's all of these games that it's why?
Here's what I hope. I hope Marvel IP gets replaced with Pokemon and everything starts to be Pokemon.
I don't think so because I feel like Nintendo's probably impossible to work with.
Do you think?
Yeah. But I mean what's that game? Is it Jaipur? What's the one where you have to get all the little gems?
Splendor.
Splendor! Yeah, Marvel Splendor.
Yeah.
Why is that a thing?
With the Avengers or whatever.
I know, I get it, the Infinity Gauntlet and stuff, but it doesn't need...
No. We don't need that.
That's it. It's just a play at user acquisition.
Yeah.
That's all it is. And I feel like board gamers are probably getting tired of it a little bit.
Yeah.
But again, Unmatched just did Ninja Turtles, mm-hmm. and I'm oh man, if they start bringing back Ninja Turtles, I don't know, man. If we
start seeing a surge of 90s IPs, Power Rangers, Ninja Turtles.
Well, that's the other thing, right?
Those kind of things.
That might be a good thing to predict,
yeah.
more 90s nostalgia stuff because we're of that age now.
Yes. Definitely.
Like, our generation is of that buying power age.
We're looking for a slice of our youth back.
We're looking for the nostalgia.
Yeah.
I don't know. I'm putting my feet in the ground. I'm saying.
Put them in.
Lord of the Rings is going to keep getting more and more IP games.
Yeah, it's going to get to be to the point of Marvel, where people are like, all right.
And I think outside of that, it's going to start petering off.
Yeah. One of the things that I'm predicting is less big box games and more small box, and not just smaller box games, but quicker play. I think we're going to start seeing, I think people are so burnt out on the big campaign experience, the 3-hour gameplay, the bloated miniatures, and like all of this stuff. I think number one, people are getting burnt out on it. And number two, it's getting way too expensive to keep buying and making these games, that I think the trend is going to start being like stripped down, streamlined, quicker play, less upgrades. Like, it's going to be back to the basics.
I agree, but I also somewhat disagree, because I think the problem is you still see these like big, like, go on Gamefound. All of their campaigns for the most part are like Awakened Realms puts out a campaign and it's like $4 million.
Right. But do you feel like, are we starting to see less of that though? I think, not from Awakened Realms. They're going to keep doing it. But I
think as we go along in this hobby, there's going to be less and less people interested in those things for two reasons. One, cost, and two, attention span.
Yeah.
Like, I think as younger generations get more into the hobby, the attention spans are less and less and less. So then to sit down and play a big like campaign game, and a lot of those generations grew up on video games, and that's what those games are competing with, which is really difficult.
Yeah,
I think that there's a certain niche of hobby gamer and current consumer that is propping that up. That I don't know how long that lasts. I think that's probably something that happens over the course of the next few years, let alone like this year. Yeah.
I just think that we're going to start seeing less of those games, because like, even as like our gaming style, we might like enjoy those games, but I'm not looking for those games anymore.
Yeah.
And I feel like we hear that all the time in our community, where people are just like, it's too much.
Well, yeah. I mean, I think the last one,
I just want a card game.
I think the last one that a lot of people were kind of like, enough, or like at least like they had ordered it and then it arrived, was ISS Vanguard. And I know a lot of people that love that game, but I think there was a lot of people that were like, I bought this like a year and a half ago, myself included, and then it arrives and it's just like, holy,
it's just too much
crap, this is so much stuff, like why did I get this? But then and it's so like
those games can be, for us anyway, and I know for a lot of people, they're just like, they sit on the shelf because they're so hard to get to the table, because there's so much like setup, and even like thinking about the rules teach. That's why I'm saying like, I think more like streamlined, straightforward games where it's like you have a couple pages of rules, you can get right into the gameplay, and you can have fun with the game right away, versus a game like ISS Vanguard or something like that, where it's like, okay, well, it's going to take me like 5 hours to learn the rules, and then I'm going to live in the rule book.
Yeah. You're kind of like getting into one of the points I was going to make.
Go ahead.
Which is, I think you're going to see an increase, and you've already stated it, you're going to see an increase in terms of accessibility of games. And I mean that from a perspective of rules overhead. Like, you're going to see more and more games come out that are like, you can learn this in 5 minutes.
Yeah, accessibility.
Or it's going to be like a very systematic way of getting into the game. Like you're starting to see rule books now that are very much like, start here, do this. That's one aspect of the game. Okay, you've learned this aspect of the game. Okay, here's the next one. Add this in, then add that in. And then it's just going to be much easier to get stuff tabled for a newer generation of gamer. Because again, I think attention span's a big problem.
Attention span is a big problem.
For board gamers.
Yeah. So many board gamers have ADD. Not board gamers,
but like board games.
Yeah.
Because like, people want instant gratification now.
Yeah.
And board games don't necessarily provide that. You know, some do, but most don't.
I think another one for me, I think we're going to see a surge of frog games. We just had a bunch of bunny games. We just had capybaras were a big thing.
Is it because there was a frog game just released, I feel like?
But I'm starting to see more. There's Top Frog. There's a totally awesome game about frogs. There's like, there's more. I'm just starting to see.
Did Cosmic Frog do it first?
Maybe. I don't know. But I think like that's, because there's always like the cute animal trend and like what's the next animal. Cats was big for a while. Cats were big. Yeah. Remember cats? That was huge. And then, dogs tried to eke in, but bunnies took over.
Dogs have always had their place in the spotlight.
But like frogs, I think, are the next. I think we're going to start seeing a lot of frog games.
Oh, and Friedman Freeze just did a frog game.
Yeah, Freaky Frogs from Outer Space. Yeah. He's the ship that launched 1,000.
No.
Face that launched
Cosmic Frog was before
1,000 ships. Whatever that phrase is. But I think frogs.
I think that's
I think less space, more frogs.
Unless you're Cosmic Frog.
Yeah, well, they've already done it. Yeah, it's been done. No more frogs in space.
This might be a little spicy one.
Oh.
And I don't think the math supports my argument.
Okay.
I think conventions are going to become less and less. And what I mean by that is I think, like, Gen Con's always going to be Gen Con and yada, yada, yada. But, like, I just think with how difficult it is and how expensive it is to travel. And I can see some of these conventions just starting to shrink a little bit.
PAX, Origins, those are two in particular that used to be really big that I like. We haven't been to Origins, but from what I've heard from people that go, it's kind of like shrinking every year, and PAX has been shrinking. I
think what's going to happen is people like have to pick and choose, and they're going to pick like Gen Con.
Yeah, they're going to pick a big one.
And I just feel like there's so many conventions now. Like there's so many.
Every year it's like, oh, there's a new convention.
And there just seems to be like this attempt to do more and more and more, and I just feel like there's too many.
Or it's going to be more just like localized conventions, like how
like Breakout Con
in Toronto, and there's one in Montreal, and like every community has their own little convention, and maybe that's just what it is, and people just pick one big one to go to a year, and you're either going to pick like a buying con or a play con based on like what you like. But I think you're right.
And I don't mean like I don't necessarily mean that they're not going to exist.
No.
But I just feel like they're not going to be...
Participation might be lower.
Yeah, I just feel like there's not going to be as many people going to these things in the future.
Mm-hmm. I think that we are going to see a surge in cozy gaming. Mm-hmm. I think that's going to be a big thing, and that is going to include more solo games.
Yep.
Because I think solo gaming, obviously, it shot up during COVID, and it's kind of like, I think a lot of games have solo modes in them, but there's not been a ton of like solo only games, and I think we're going to start seeing it again. Because I think people want it. Mm-hmm. And a lot of those games are going to be cozy games in particular. People are looking for a little bit of comfort in their lives, a little bit of coziness. Mm-hmm. I am, personally. So I think that's definitely going to be a thing with the solo gaming, and a resurgence of cute. When do we get away from cute?
Does that connect with the frog thing?
Yeah. Frogs are cute.
Cute frog revival.
Cute, cozy frog games. Where are they, people? I'm putting it out there into the world. I need it.
I'm really thinking about this stuff on the fly, so take that for what it is.
I will.
I think the next thing for me is just, in general, I think less games are going to get produced. Because I don't know how it's sustaining itself currently. Mm-hmm. Like, everyone is putting out a game.
Yeah.
Like, there's so many, obviously there's all of the publishers we all know about, and then there's like a new publisher every other day.
Yeah.
And there's just so many people that are in this hobby that are like, I'm going to make my game. Mm-hmm. And I don't know how it continues to sustain itself long term.
Yeah.
I mean, I know that they've talked about how like it was like the golden age of board gaming, like a couple years ago.
Right.
I don't know if that's still the case from like a financial standpoint, But I just don't see how we continue along on this trajectory of like a new game, a new publisher, like 100 games a day being thrown up on Kickstarter. And Kickstarter is part of the reason why.
Yeah.
Crowdfunding is one of the reasons why this happens or is happening. I just don't see how we continue consuming at the same rate.
It's interesting because like I was just at Gamma, and even like I've only been to Gamma twice, last year and this year. This year it was double the size in terms of like publishers.
Yeah.
Which is crazy.
Well, I mean, that's what I mean. Like,
and like you go around, you see every booth, and it's just like every booth has like at least like 3 games, and there's a couple that are like pretty independent, and they have 1 game and they're just kind of like getting it out there, but it's overwhelming. Well,
like we were just at Lancelot Games, and like I literally was just sitting there being like we're pretty in the know of board games and the hobby and what's coming out and whatever, and I'm sitting there and I'm like, I haven't heard of 50% of these games. And that's wild to think about. And like for every shelf I'm seeing, there's 30 shelves of games I've never even heard of.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like I just don't.
I also think it's interesting because like now just every game gets made pretty much. Do you know what I mean?
And yeah, so 100%.
There's been, and I'm a complete advocate. Like if you want to create something and make your game, it doesn't matter if it's the best game ever or just a little game that you're only going to play or whatever. You should make your game, and because somebody's going to like it. But like I have noticed that there have been a lot of games that are just getting pumped out of there that are very mid to the point of what I'm like, why would they put this game out? Because they like, I'm speaking about publishers in specific, because like I know that they can do better because they have way better games, but now it's gotten to a point where it's like quantity, like the big thing is like we're gonna have 50 releases this year, and like that's insane. Like have 3 good releases.
Yeah, I don't understand the publishers that are able to do that.
Yeah,
honestly, and that's what I mean. I don't think that's sustainable.
Yeah,
and I want to be clear. I'm not stating this from a like people need to stop producing games. Like whatever. That's not for me to determine.
Yeah.
What I'm saying is from a consumer standpoint, I don't understand how it still remains viable.
Yeah.
I don't understand how, to Jamie's point, like a publisher could be like, we're going to do 50 releases today. Like,
well, because they just hope like, a couple of them are going to stick.
Yeah, sure. And like, listen, it's, you know, there's a cost analysis to all of this stuff, and there's a lot smarter people in the world than I am. So maybe it makes sense to produce 50 games and hope a couple stick. I don't know.
I don't know either.
But like, it's just, we see it all the time. You know, it's like, oh, I have my new game coming out. I have my new game coming out. I have my new game coming. And I'm like, and they're all, and great, go for it. And we don't want to snuff out independent publishers because then we wouldn't have all of these great games that we have. But for me, I just see it all happening. I'm like, how are you sustainable?
Yeah, how do you stand out in a crowd? I think of it almost as like, and this is not obviously accurate, but like, you know when you go to a restaurant and the menu has like 5 things on it?
It's like the menu from Schitt's Creek where it's like this big.
Yeah, and you know the menu that has 5 things on it, it's probably everything's going to be good.
Sure, yeah.
Versus the menu that has like 50 things on it.
Your chef can like, cook all 200 of these dishes.
Like, why does it have Irish stew, tikka masala?
Yeah.
Like all of sushi, and like it doesn't make any sense. But anyways, I don't know. I think you think that we're going to see less. I think we're just going to keep seeing more.
I think we'll see more implementations of games. Yeah. And I think we're starting to see that already.
Definitely.
I think we'll see less new stuff. I just think we have to. I just think we have to. It's just not, it's not that big of a hobby.
Yeah.
In my opinion.
Right.
But I think we will see more re-implementation of things. Like, I think Awakened Realms is already starting to pave that path forward because like they've done Castles of Burgundy. They did another one that's not Agricola. Oh my god, I've not played it. I can't remember.
Does it have frogs in it?
No, they did another reimplementation, deluxified version of an older game. Like, I think that stuff's going to happen more and more and more because those games have proven to stand the test of time, right? But yeah, I think we'll see less new game development eventually and more reimplementation of some of the stuff, deluxified versions of stuff we've already played.
Yeah, I think like I mentioned before with the streamlined stuff, I do think we're going to see like some streamlined versions of some more popular, like bigger games. Like I think about Moonbreakers, and then they have Moon Rollers, where it's just set in the world, but it's a much easier game
like
to get to the table.
Grand Austria Hotel Roll and Write.
Yeah, exactly. Oh, there's one more that I have that I'm just very curious, because like a new board gaming mechanic has not come out since like deck building. Like deck building has been like
I'm sure someone will
they probably will try, but good luck. Like what is a new, like is there any more board game mechanics that can be discovered like that can breathe a little bit of life and like new, and not just an iteration, not like, oh, this is worker placement but different. It uses dice. Like, do you know what I mean? Like deck building was kind of that last big thing. I'll be very curious.
But when was that? I mean, that was
Dominion.
That's a while ago.
I know, that we're due. Like, what's a new mechanic that can be discovered that
I wonder how much is pulled
going to change
from, like,
the game?
Outside sources. Like, I wonder if like deck building was pulled from video games or something. 'Cause
maybe.
There's a lot of video games that I think of that are older than Dominion that had a deck building mechanism in them.
Yeah. Any more from you, Jeff?
Yeah, I think you're going to continue to see an increase of digital implementations of games.
Oh yeah.
And I'm not here to argue with people about whether that is valid or not. I don't care. You
mean like more BGA?
Yeah, I know a lot of people will argue with me that digital implementations of games are a bad thing. I disagree. And I don't want to argue with you about it in the comments. You can have your opinion on that. I think it's great because it gives people the opportunity to play games that they might not otherwise get to play.
Yeah.
I don't think board games are defined in your box. So if people want to play digitally, by all means. But I think you'll see more games on BGA.
We're already seeing it.
I'm very curious to see if
a competitor pops up.
Not necessarily a competitor, but I don't know how they keep hosting so many games on their platform. Because they're putting out a new game all the time now.
Yeah.
So I don't know if you'll see like a new iteration of BGA where it's more robust. But that being said, I think you're just going to see more direwolf stuff, like Root. Doom.
Yeah, that's what I was just thinking. More, not on BGA, but
just,
more
more apps.
More so that people who play video games, like on Steam and stuff, are going to stumble upon...
Well, you're already seeing it. I guess it's kind of a cheat because it's already happening.
Yeah, but there's not like a ton of them. Do you know what I mean?
No, but I think it's expensive.
Yeah.
But I think you're going to see more digital implementations because, there's a lot of companies that are trying to bridge the gap between board games and video games, and I think that's a good thing.
Yeah.
Like, bring those hobbies together.
Yeah.
And I think you'll see more and more of them.
And I think you'll see play so well.
I think you'll see more of the old stuff being put digitally. You know what I mean? Like they did Root, they did Dune, like they did
Brass Birmingham.
Undaunted has one. There's
Calico has one.
Munchkin. God, I don't know if it's out yet, but they've been working on that forever, which is another direwolf thing. But I think you'll just see more of that because it's awesome. I don't care. It's great. I love it. I love playing with friends that I would never get to play with otherwise, that are on another side of the freaking planet. I also find like beyond the BGA, like the actual like digital implementation as a video game, like they can make it so interesting. Like, in the Calico one, like the cats are walking around and they're laying on the blankets while you're playing, and it's just like that doesn't happen on BGA. On BGA, you're just getting the board game, whereas like when they do TTS, or
when they do the digital implementation, it takes the game,
the app. When they do the app,
it takes the game and it just like builds out the world.
Yeah, and it comes back to that point.
Same with like Root, because they got like the little...
It comes back to that point of like attention span.
Yeah.
You know, like people can pick up and play digital implementation of a game pretty quickly.
Mm-hmm.
And most of these have a really good tutorial.
Yeah.
Like you pick up the Root app and it has a tutorial for the game and every single faction.
Mm-hmm.
You cannot compete with that.
No, best way to learn Root.
With a physical board in front of you. You just can't.
Yeah. Jeff, the sponsor of today's video is Ivy Studio. It's actually the sponsor of the month, not just this video. They're sponsoring the whole month. They have a game on Kickstarter, coming to Kickstarter if it's not on there already, called Scales of Fate, which is a 2-player version of Veiled Fate. It's like abstract strategy. It's great. You should definitely go check it out. It's in the link in the description below. And what I want to say about Ivy Studio is we're talking about trends. These guys are trending.
They're trending.
Okay? They don't miss. Every game, they're being innovative.
They've nailed a lot of the things I enjoy.
Yes.
Like, they're like UX design.
Yeah.
Oof.
So that's actually what I wanted to talk about. Because one thing that I hope will trend in board games coming up is better UX and UI in board games.
Yeah. Publishers.
Please.
You are not UX and UI designers.
No.
Most of you aren't. Some of you are.
Maybe some.
Stop pretending.
Yeah, stop pretending.
Like you are.
Start hiring people, because there are people that do that as a business, like as a job, that can make UX and UI in board games so much better. And I think Ivy Studios nails this.
Agreed.
Everything looks great. It's intuitive. And I hope, fingers crossed, that is a trend in the future.
Agreed.
I think those are the trends that you're going to see. But the one big takeaway is frogs. So if you're yourself thinking about designing a game, I urge you to make it about frogs. I'd be very curious in the comments below. Let us know what are some trends that you think are on the horizon. Because it's like, it's hard to predict. It's like throwing spaghetti at a wall, see what sticks. You don't really know. But we see...
That's a weird analogy, but...
That's a common analogy.
No, I know it's a common analogy, but it was a weird one to use in that instance, I feel like.
Sticking spaghetti. But we're obviously deep in the hobby. We see the things, but we don't know anything. So I'd be curious to know
we don't.
What you know. They don't know that we know that they know that we know. Jeff doesn't know what that's from, do you?
It's The Office.
No. It's Friends. They don't know that we know that they know that we know.
I'm pretty sure it's in The Office, too.
Well, they took it from Friends. Anyways, that is everything that we have for today's little discussion video. If you would like to buy board games, like any of the frog games that may be coming out in the future, you should first start by checking your friendly local frogging store. And for us, that is...
The Boardroom Game Frog.
Exactly. And if you like
Boardroom Game Cafe.
Board Game Cafe. And if you like what you see,
please subscribe.
We hope to see you again soon. And now we say goodbye, goodbye.
Later days.
Youch.
That was a little puzzle.
Yeah, that one doesn't go on. It won't go on.
It should.
No, they're different.
Oh. What?
They're different.
Why are they different?
Sometimes things are made different.
Because these all stack.
Yeah.
So shouldn't this stack like that?
I guess not. Because do you see it's different?
I hate this. My brain does not like this. This should go in here.
Okay, now what? Just like a little kid doing one of those, all the shapes go into the one hole.
That was annoying.
Boom, roasted. The inside of my ear is popping. Do you know what I mean?
Yes.
Where you can like hear yourself.